You said after Home of the Brave that you wanted to make a stripped down, really simple record. What happened to that?
This is it. Yeah, I was wrong. I started out that way. I started it a few different ways. At one point, it was just going to be a bunch of soundtracks for films that I had around my house. And I thought, I'll just put them together and make a record. And that would be easy, take a few weeks. So, it didn't turn out that way. You know, I mean, I admire people who have big plans, like, you know, Paul Simon or David Byrne do Brazil or do South Africa, and I'm much sloppier than that. Just sort of start and keeps changing and looking different every day and sounding. So, the way it turned out was a complete surprise to me. There were more notes in it than I thought there would be. It's more melodic because there's so much singing on it, you know, because it started, a lot of them started with the voice.
Your singing voice is stronger than ever on Strange Angels. What path did you take to enhance that capability?
I kind of got shamed into taking singing lessons. Yeah. I was working on a song and it was turning out kind of slick. It was something I ended up never releasing. But the backup singers did their part, and then I stepped up to the mic and I realized, oh, this should be sung. And I was a little late to have this realization, but I had no idea how to sing, you know, and so I thought, well, I can either kind of sing along like you usually do, or else learn a few things about it. So I started taking some singing lessons, and it was really very odd sort of process. You know, it's very physical, and you're very vulnerable doing that kind of thing. So I started to write about different things too, because of that. Oh, here's another voice, and there's also, you know, a button that you can push to fix it, and that was scary. Oh, you can still mess around with recording, but in a live situation, it's even more so, of course.
You've long focused on the art of solo performance. What evolution does Empty Places represent for you on that front?
One person can make a lot of noise, you know, so these violins are very hopped up and keyboards are really together. So it's really more of a visual show, actually. There are lots of, I shot thousands of slides for this thing and films and sat doing computer animations, and so there's a lot of that stuff. And to play the record on a stage would be, first of all, you'd need a lot of people and animals. They're so uncooperative. Tour managers hate them as well, playing in their cages, you know. And I thought, well, really, why play a record on a stage? I mean, my records I make really for someone listening at home. They're not really dance records or stuff like that. They're much more intimate. And being with a big group of people in dark rooms is intimate in a different kind of way. But you have so many more chances to do things that are visual. I thought, I'll just do something that's mostly pictures. It's not the typical, you know, play the record kind of tour at all, because it doesn't make any sense for me to do that.
You've been performing in multiple languages in recent years. How has that been going?
I speak mostly Italian, and then French, and then German. So not very much German. And the first time I tried to do something in German, you know, they said, well, your accent sounds like a used car salesman. That's what they said in the paper. It's a little stiff, in other words.
We've got our own language complexity here in Canada. There's a fierce current debate over whether or not Quebec should continue embracing English. Do you have a view on that?
In the most general way, sometimes it seems that the longest wars just never end, and the one between England and France is still being waged in Montreal, you know, downtown Montreal, and then, this 500 years later, it still wasn't solved. And who is fighting this, and for what? You know, And because it did sort of seem that way to me. Now that's probably just very warped outsider's view, because it's real easy to come into a place and think, why are you doing this? It's so silly, And then you kind of go, oh, please. You don't know what it's like unless you live there, ever.
Dear Reader, one of your earliest projects, explored sex in the 40s. Can you reflect on the making of it?
That was a film that I shot. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say sex film was really... Sex of the 40s, maybe, because the opening shot in the film was... was a bedroom and the two bathrobes. You just see them waist down kind of come together, and the foot comes up and the slipper drops boom, down onto the carpet. That kind of scene. Camera pans to the window, and the wind is blowing through the window, and 9 calendar pages blow off, and you hear, and that's sex of the 40s. Not too explicit. And it was a bunch of linked stories. And shot it on Super 8. And, that was a lot of little things about time and how time gets compressed or expanded.
What's your next project after the Empty Places tour?
My next project's going to be a long radio play. So I just love driving, listening to real long stories. Maybe I want to do it because I've been working on so much music lately. It would be sort of nice to have sound that was just sort of like that kind of sound, just sound effects, tables moving. Because mostly the visual stuff I do now it's all on computers, and that's kind of, not as tactile as I really like to work.
The performance art realm remains male-dominated. What's your perspective on that imbalance?
I did used to do some political things a long time ago, but I realized I was in some groups of artists, and we would sit around and go, it's so unfair. There are only 3 women in this, big exhibition and 100 men, and it's totally typical. But the next question was, it's so elitist and all of that. How do we get in? And I was like, oh no, this is like, you just want to compete the same way. This isn't really solving a lot of things. So, also I don't think that that's a great way to, if you really do want to change things or have a part in changing them, that's not the way to do it. Just writing things down and saying, believe this. Here, that's the way it should be. I was never convinced of anything that way. I hate it when people tell me what to do. I have a very bad reaction to authority. Or somebody just saying, my opinion is really more valid than yours, so you should really consider mine instead of your own. Like, excuse me, So I thought, well, if I had something to say about women or men or anything like that, it would be part of working in another way rather than, clobbering people on the head with stuff.